Okay, little sun porch update. I pulled out this piece of OSB that was against this back wall, and what I found was a piece of styrofoam in there and an old door. So from outside I can see this door, and I've always called this the door to nowhere. So yeah, so at this point I just got to figure out, now this door is, it's a solid door. I don't like just having a door buried in the wall, but it is solid and there is insulation, so maybe I could leave it there. Not 100% sure. I kind of thought maybe we could put a window here. I don't think the window is really necessary, but I'm going to have to make a decision here how I'm going to tackle this. I certainly could leave it the way it is because it is a solid door. It is insulated, and they even took the time to vapor barrier it, whoever did the work before. So yeah, I got the rest of this paneling off, and there's some good plywood here. I'm going to leave that. There's no need to undo this. It's a newer header, so obviously this was probably would have been an open porch at one time that they modified. But anyway, that's pretty much where I'm at now. I was curious to see what was behind that. So obviously, like most of the stuff here that I found, it wasn't held on with a lot of nails. I was able to just pull this off by hand. But anyway, so the next stage will be to see how I tackle this. And I've been looking at these cross beams up here, and I kind of liked them. I kind of thought I could leave them as a feature. But what I've discovered, and I'm not even 100% sure, but I think these are only just attached here like a face nail. So they're not tied into the house. They're not really structural. I think these would have just been put there to support that decking that used to run across that I took down. So I think when I insulate my cavities, I think I'll pop these out. And that way there I'll be able to lay my sheets of styrofoam in there, and I won't have these notches and stuff in the way. So I'm going to put my styrofoam in all these cavities. I think what I want to do is get the rigid styrofoam thick enough to fill the entire cavity, and maybe have another layer going across the whole thing. So it'll be plenty insulated. I'm going to do the same with that little outer wall. And I'm going to, once I address this, I'm going to continue the wall up, because I've got to make a partition, because that is above the outside section of the porch, and that's a cold zone. That's considered outside. So I'm going to continue this all the way up, insulate. So I think it's going to be nice and open. My next step now is to, the next step is to go and buy some styrofoam and some cans of spray foam and figure out how I'm going to tackle this old door. But for now, I'm happy with the progress. I think this will be a good little cosmetic job, and it shouldn't cost too much, and it should give us a pretty good little transformation in here, I'm thinking. Okay, so this is our door to nowhere from outside. So at one time, this would have been an entire porch, an entire open porch. This would have been all open at one time. So they closed off one section, made the sunroom, which I like. But, so what do I do here? Do I leave this door? I mean, it's a pretty good solid door, and obviously I would never leave it this way. But what I could do is I could just simply peel all the siding and everything off, and I could just leave this as, basically, call this my nailing surface. Take all this trim off, all this siding, and if this is flush, why not just leave it? It is insulated. I mean, obviously I would never leave that, the doorknob and the trim, and this is all caulked shut. But if I could peel all the siding off, take the knob off, obviously, resheathe this, or maybe I wouldn't even have to resheathe. If once I take this off, if these are at the same thickness, Anyway, it could be a way that I could just leave this door and then just run my new siding over it. And no one ever has to know. I've never used it as a door. I don't plan on it. And I think that could be a solution. Instead of taking it out and having a gaping hole and having to get plywood and sheathing and everything else, I think I could just leave it and just make that the surface. So as I progress with the porch inside, I might jump out here and peel all this siding down and this trim, just to reveal what kind of, I mean, if this, once I peel this off, if this is a flush surface across, I mean, I can just take the knob off, fill that with the expandable foam, and call this my surface. And this might work just fine. Okay, more to follow on this one. Okay, progressing on my little sun porch. I took down the last of the timbers there, and today I went out and I ordered some styrofoam. So I've just started here. I got a couple of cavities done. The styrofoam that I got is the 2-inch high density, has a value rating of R10. So I'm going to put 2 layers in there because the rough cut 2x4s are a full 4 inches. So that's going to give me an R20 in the roof, and I might even have enough left over. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but I probably have enough that I could even do another layer on top to make R30, but I think R20 might be good. Every one of these cavities, now these pieces are 2x8 by 2 inches thick, and of course every one of these cavities, this is an old house, is different. They're anywhere from 21.5 to 22 to 20.75 to almost 24. So every one of these so far has been slightly different, but I've got some styrofoam up. I haven't used any adhesive yet. There's quite a few nails popping down from the roof. So I'm just able to take the sheets and force them up in place. Any cracks or gaps, I'm going to come back after with the spray can, and I'm going to fill all those voids, just like I'm going to fill all the voids here. So I'm just going to start by filling these cavities. See if I can do one layer today. And then I'll get some tuck tape on all the seams. Wherever there's a seam, I will tuck tape. This one has to be pushed back up, tuck tape. And then when I put the second layer over, I'll overlap the joints. I'm going to try to make this as airtight as I can. Like I said, I'm going to concentrate on this. Once I get the cavities filled, I'm going to build a little bit of a partition wall here that I'm also going to insulate. And I'm going to build out that little outside wall as well. And I'm also going to insulate that. So this is the foam I got today. Nice stuff. Not cheap at all. I got 14 sheets. This cost $435. So I actually got this stuff for a fairly good price. But it is still not cheap. If I only do 2 layers, I'll probably have some left over. If I do 3, I should have just enough, just the same. So I may have to return some. No big deal if I do. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to try to just finish. I'm going to try to finish one application up in the rafters. See how that holds up. I think I've got some tuck tape downstairs. I'll have to run back out to the store to get some spray foam, but that won't be for a couple days anyway. Okay, that's where I'm at. Okay, it's the next day. I'm still plugging away on my porch. I've got, like I said yesterday, I started on the foam. I've got 1 full layer of foam up in the rafters, so that's a 2-inch. So I think what I'm going to do now is, before I put the second layer on, I'm going to spray foam all behind the cracks. On this little outer wall, I put some vertical members here. I think I talked about this before. And I filled in some rigid styrofoam on this outside wall. There's 2 layers of 2-inch. So that's considered done. As well, I'm going to go around with a can of spray foam and fill all the imperfections and cracks and make this all nice and sealed. On this side, I've added some structural members. Structural members here. So what I'm going to do at this point is, I'm not going to do this end right now because I've got this wire for my light, as you can see. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the wire up here. And I'm going to drill and bring it over, drill, and make it so that I got my light fixture here somewhere so it hangs down. I'm kind of going to make it sort of centered with the room and centered with these front windows here. It's hard to get good footage because I'm so close to everything. I've peeled back the styrofoam off the door like I had shown yesterday. I have decided I'm going to take the lazy man's way. I will leave the door in place. Good door. I'm going to leave it there. It's a good flat surface. This turns out this is 3 inches. So they just had a 1 inch of that white granular stuff here, which has very little R value. And this is about 1.25 inches. And this is a tad over 3 inches. So what I'm going to do, and they had this over the knob. They had the big knob sticking out here, which was ridiculous. So I took the knob off. I got a hole here. I'm going to also spray that with spray foam, fill this cavity. I'm going to leave the vapor barrier in place. I'm going to add the pink 2-inch. And then maybe if it fits, I might throw that white styrofoam on top. Or I might put some strapping over top, so that my drywall or paneling or beadboard can attach to it. So I think for now, it's still early, but I think the plan is I think what I want to do is I want to get at least 2 layers of styrofoam in the attic section. And I'm thinking right now that I would like to beadboard maybe on a horizontal like this, beadboard the entire ceiling and have the light dangling down. And then maybe just take some drywall or sheetrock, whatever you call it, and then just drywall the whole face here. I think that would look good. I'm not there yet, obviously. I'm going to peel this back here, or either peel these boards back or do some test holes just to verify on the insulation. There is the ribbon joist of the house does run around here, and I'm 99.999% sure that there's 0 insulation in the ribbon cavity. There certainly was none in the kitchen. So when I took the ceiling down of the kitchen, it was kind of like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I got that done as well. And I'm going to do that here also, I think. I'm pretty sure that needs it. At least all this section here. Over here, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to mount some rigid styrofoam from behind. I just use conventional 2x4s there, so they're not as thick they're not a full 4 inches. So I'm going to mount 1 layer from behind, have another one inside, and that should leave a gap of about 1.5 inches or so. So maybe I'll come back over top of that with some 1 inch or something else. I'll come up with something. I'll put as much as I can up there. For now, I got to run out. I got to get myself some new drill bits. I got to drill through these rafters, like I said. My drill bits are just shot. That's where I'm at right now. I think before I leave, I do have 1 can of spray foam. I will do 1 application in all the cracks. So that stuff is messy. So anyway, I do have 1 can. There's a lot of cracks like this here. Behind this plywood, I can tell there's pink fiberglass. It's 4 inches. It doesn't have the same R value that the rigid foam does, but I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here. I'm not going to pull all this plywood down. It's fine. It's really only a very small section. Anyway, I'm going to live with that. I'm going to leave this alone. What I'm going to concentrate on is all the crack filling right now. And crack filling, for example, here, where the door frame fits. I mean, you can pretty much, that's probably over 1/4 inch, and that goes almost right to the outside. So I'm going to fill this. This door is sealed shut. It's going to stay there. A bit of a lazy man's way, but it is easier. I've decided against the window. I'm just going to make this a solid wall. Styrofoam, whatever covering goes over, that's what it's going to be. That's where I'm at right now. I'm going to check again after I've done one application of spray foam.